there's a bigger issue here. Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints. The trouble is Earth. On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. Out there, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't?
My dear doctor, they're all true.
Even the lies?
Especially the lies.
On behalf of the Bajoran government
And the Promenade Merchants Association,
I officially welcome you to Deep Space Nine.
Welcome back to Especially the Lies, what is allegedly a Star Trek Deep Space Nine podcast, but with this group of individuals, you never really know what the hell we're going to talk about. So stick around for this episode as we talk about The Search, Part 1 and 2, and be just as surprised as the rest of us to see where this conversation goes. We are a group of longtime Star Trek fans and a group of people who claim to be our friends who we conned into watching another 30-year-old TV show for the very first time, watching it week to week and offering their thoughts, opinions, and feedback on this show. The way this typically works is we will go through, get a synopsis, do some first impressions, have our discussion, and end with questions and predictions from our first-time watchers. We will then throw them off the station and head through the wormhole to visit with the Prophets, where we will talk about all of their questions, predictions, make fun of them, and gaslight the shit out of them. If you are familiar with our previous show, Grey 17, you know exactly how this works. Except now we are doing it with Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I am Blake, and with me is...
Nicole.
Mike.
Chris.
Emily.
Prentice.
Christopher.
And Jessi.
So we are back now with the start of Season 3 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Our crew is all mostly still here and willing to keep doing this. And Jessi, I think you said you have a synopsis for our Season 3 premiere.
I do. I'm going to wing it. Ready? Okay, so the crew goes out through the wormhole. Odo finds his home, and in the words of the late, great Biggie, it was all a dream.
There we go.
Solid.
So let's go ahead and start grabbing some first impressions here. Nicole, let's start with you.
Wow, what a welcome to Season 3. This was a really good episode. I definitely had to really pay attention because I did not expect some things to happen. My hatred of the Jem'Hadar is still there. They still suck and I hate them. Jake's outfit in the very beginning, whoa, that was quite the outfit. I just had to point that out. I liked all the moments between Kira and Odo. I'm almost wondering if maybe she's starting to feel more for him. So that was nice to see. I thought it was kind of fucked up and hilarious at the same time that Quark was using MLK Jr.'s speech to talk about his business. I was like, what the hell is happening here? At first, I wasn't really liking how Odo was acting, but then like as time went on and I figured it out, I was like, oh, I get it now. Because he said he was being pulled. But yeah, it was wild. I did not expect the twist at the end. I really thought like all that stuff was happening. It reminded me of Twilight Eclipse when the end scene, they have this big fight and then it turns out it was just a vision. Like that's exactly what it reminded me of. Because when that happened and they were in that room, I was like, oh, hell no, they just Twilighted this shit. So that's exactly what I said. But yeah, it was really good. I was excited to see it, but now that I know it was fake, I'm kind of bummed that Garrick was like helping them and like kind of took a shot for them. I was like, okay, Garrick. And then I was like, oh, it wasn't real, but maybe he's got it in him. Who knows? But yeah, overall, I just thought this was a really good episode. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen next. And what was that guy's name? Bathar, the one who was with the Dominion. He had the ears like Ares. What was his name?
Borath.
Yes. Okay. I kept calling him Borat. I know that's not right, but Borat, I feel like he's going to be a problem and I did not like him. So yeah, I definitely feel like this episode was just so much going on. Like, you know how there's an A and a B plot? This had like 5 plots and it was a lot to follow for me, but it was good. And the whole scene on Odo's homeland was really crazy too. So lots to unpack with this episode. But yeah, Hell of a season 3 opener.
It's funny, you would be shocked that a capitalist would use Dr. Martin Luther King's words to promote their business, because that doesn't happen every fucking January.
I just didn't think Quark was that smart.
There we go. Chris, how about your first impressions?
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought the same exact thing. At the end, Biggie came into my mind. It was all a dream. I wonder if Sisko read Word Up magazine. I doubt it, but it was a good episode. The end, if I can skip to the end, finding out that it was just all this kind of simulation, I was kind of disappointed in that because everything had been so impactful. Like everything that was happening seemed like it had real finality to it. When the Romulan woman, I can't remember her name, she got clapped in the back and fell into Sisko's arms, and then Garrett got clapped in the hallway, and I'm like, yo, people, like bodies are dropping. Like this is real stakes. This is high consequence for them making these decisions. And the bigger the consequence from the decision to make, it just kind of ratchets everything up. And that really had me in. And then they get in the door when Odo puts 2 in the pink and 1 in the stink and then ends up opening the door. I'm just like, what's going on here with this weird 3-finger configuration, long, slimy finger shit? I was like, what is he doing? Gets the door open, goes in, and they're all just tripping in their ayahuasca machines, just having this crazy vision or whatever. I was like, I mean, it's a twist, right? It did get me. I didn't see it coming, but at the same time, I kind of wish it wasn't, because them blowing up the wormhole and all that, like, it just seemed like it was just a huge kind of surprise. That was a bigger surprise to me than finding him in that thing. Anyways, I was glad Odo found his home world. The body melding thing just seemed really sexual. I was like, yo, and then he came out of it. He's like, yo, I was flying and I felt the wings. I'm like, she got the ill man. Like, she must have really put it on Odo, because he was a whole different man after that. But yeah, I thought it was funny too when he was like, I did the whole rock. I turned into a rock. I was a fucking rock. Like, what is it? I don't want to be a fucking rock anymore. What the hell is she talking about? Oh, Prentice, did you pick up the part where he was talking to her and she was like changeling? He was like changeling. She's like, yeah, that's what the solids call us, changeling. But we took it, we put power into the word, and now it's our word. I was like, that's you know what I'm saying? Like, I was there. I felt that moment. I was like, yeah, this is why Odo's my guy. You know what I'm saying? So I really dug when he got home to the home world and was getting reintegrated and everything. But overall, really good. And like Nicole was saying, I'm interested, to see where all of this kind of leads to.
Christopher, how about your first impressions?
I thought that this was an amazing start to the season. I was a little curious as to what was going on because everybody was acting out of character. Odo was acting out of character. And then when everyone else is on station and they're negotiating the treaty, like the whole damn Federation was acting out of character. They're just giving up Bajor. I was like, what the hell is going on? And I couldn't figure it out. And so that the surprise at the end, I knew something had to be up because it just did not make a lick of damn sense. Odo finding his people, for lack of the better term, that was really nice to see. But I did kind of like how at the end he realized that he has his people, he has his family already. And just because he met other beings who are like him, that doesn't automatically make them his family. And what he has gone through with the people on the station matters more than what connection that they might have being the same species. So I thought that was really important and really poignant. I also thought that Jessi was going to hate the ending.
Well, let's find out, shall we? Jessi, would you like to refute Christopher with your first impressions?
That was an excellent lead-in to my bullshit. So, okay, first, I just got to get it out. I thought we figured out how Odo had sex, same as Chris. Like, I was watching it and I was like, oh, this is uncomfortable. Like, is that how it happens? And then he comes back and he's like all fucking happy. Yes, that's exactly how it happens. And then Chris also mentioned that he put all his fingers in those holes. And I've never been more attracted to Odo in my life. Like, sorry, Mike's just shaking his head. It was a great episode. The 2 episodes. It was a lot of fun. I will admit I fell asleep like for a couple minutes in the first part, and then I was absolutely fucking confused. I couldn't figure out. I was still confused. I couldn't figure out how, because I went back and watched it. I couldn't figure out how Dax and O'Brien got into the same ship that they were in, because it didn't really show what had happened to them. All of a sudden they're in the ship and now everybody's together. That should have been the first, like, okay, something's going on here, because I had no idea. I just thought I missed it. But no, I really enjoyed both of the episodes. I think it's a great beginning. I'm interested to see where it continues to go, but you can tell that they are full-fledged serialization now. Like, they're ready to go. And I know everybody said that it was going to be season 3, but like, they didn't even lead into it. They were like, this is the recap. This is what happened. Let's get it.
All right, let's switch over to our longtime fans now and get their first impressions. And for those joining us for season 3, even though a lot of us are fans of Star Trek for a long time and have watched this series many times, this is, for I think most of us, is probably the first time with DS9 we have done a week-to-week rewatch and not just binged it or watched favorite episodes. So for us, it's kind of a unique experience too, going back to, this is really the first time in 30 years we have taken this show and watched it one episode a week versus kind of the modern just binge through it thing. So Prentice, how about we go to you and get your first impressions?
For context, I remember when this season was going to premiere back 30 years ago. This is when Deep Space Nine was going to coincide with the first season of Voyager. So I remember them talking about, we're going to ratchet it up, we're going to do different things and make it more interesting. People had panned the series and it's slow, it's not what I expected. So when this episode came out, you saw them taking a lot of risks. All of a sudden, there was a battleship. You never saw that in Star Trek. You saw this was something tied into the repercussions from the Borg attack 5 years ago. And you kind of wonder, why didn't Starfleet create a defensive mechanism against this new threat? Now you get more of that backstory about what happened. I love that. The serialization of the first few episodes, amazing. I love it. More world building. Even the fact you have a Romulan in the show and the Federation has a cloaking device. When I first saw that, that blew my mind. It's like, wow, the Federation has a cloaking device? And there's a treaty saying that, and that's why it's a big deal for those who don't know, there's a treaty saying that the Federation, in accordance with Romulan Empire, will not have a cloaking device. They said they swore it off. So to have that kind of partnership with the Romulan Empire, to have a cloaking device on their ship, this shows you how big this threat was. So going into it, it's like, yeah, this is going to be a really big season. So the Defiant is one of my favorite ships in the series. So I'm glad they premiered that. Great thing there. And you may not also notice this little subtle change in the episode. The Starfleet badge changed this season.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's matching the badges that you see in Voyager that premiered at that time. So a lot of changes are starting to take shape over the series and all of Star Trek around. I don't know, was this premiering in, was this fall 93? I think this is the fall of 90. No. It had to be 94.
94.
Yeah, September,
October 94.
It had to be 94.
It was right after Generations, because the new badges actually were from Generations.
Absolutely right. So for me, loved the episode, a lot of stuff happening. Can't wait to unpack a lot of the stuff. It was just simply a great episode.
When you mentioned that with Voyager, Prentice, and that's, if I have my timeline right, there was, because when season 2 ended was the finale of Star Trek The Next Generation, All Good Things.
Right.
And then season 3 of DS9 premiered, and there was like a 10, 11 week period where DS9 was the only Star Trek show on the air. And then Voyager popped up about a third to half of the way through season 3. So this is kind of the only time, this little stretch here is going to be the only time DS9 just has its own moment. It's its own thing. Emily, how about your first impressions?
I mean, I think it was a great way to start season 3, because for the first 2 seasons, most of the episodes felt kind of low stakes for the majority of them. And you start season 3 and you're like, oh shit, something's really happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
And since I wasn't binge watching, I was like this one, we actually watched the 2 episodes. I actually paid more attention to like the effects they used. And yeah, you can tell the effects are dated, but they're not so dated that it's distracting to the overall like plot of what's happening, which to be honest is kind of impressive compared to certain other shows around the same time where their effects did not have the same budget, allowing them that ability. But no, it's a really good episode, and it is really interesting once I start tying in like the Romulan connection, because they hadn't really shown up and like poof, they're here out of nowhere. What's going on? I really liked it.
Mike, how about your first impressions?
I'm kind of overall kind of with Chris on this one. I really liked the episode. It was enjoyable. It had a lot of action. It had a lot of impactfulness to it, but it was like kind of a big letdown when you reach the end and find out that there's some hand waving and it was all just a dream, and then like everybody gets sent home with really no consequence. Kind of, it's all like building up to a really flat conclusion in the end, but like it was a lot of fun to get there, and I enjoy. I'm really stoked about having the Defiant show up in the show, getting some other things kind of spun into motion. We got to see Garrick was in it again. I'm glad he didn't actually get murdered. But yeah, I mean it's a really fun episode overall, but like the way it ends is kind of like a little bit to me. I didn't want all those people to actually die, but yeah, so I don't know, man. It's one of the better ones. It's a 7 or 8. It's fun.
But I also really enjoy this one, and it's funny. I think it was our season 2 recap. One of our listeners asked the question, "What are you looking forward to most in season 3?" And when we record this, we're doing it on Zoom, so we can all see each other typically when we're doing this. And I said what I was looking forward to the most was Sisko shows up with the blank and goes through the blank and opens a can of blank on the blank. And the other longtime fans are staring like, "Oh shit, what are you about to?" Yeah, I was referring to Sisko showing up with the Defiant at the start of season 3. Because I love that where it kind of freaks out the station and they just, "Oh, hi everyone," and shows up with that. So I really enjoy the start of it. I also really like the directors for these 2 episodes. So the first part was Kim Friedman, who directed The Wire with Garrick and also directed the Jim Hadar. So Kim Friedman came back and directed part 1, but part 2 was actually directed by Jonathan Frakes. And Frakes, I think, is actually a really good director. He's directed some damn good episodes throughout the entirety of the franchise, including probably one of the best movies in the franchise with First Contact. So I really enjoyed having him as the second part director. I like the story, and one of the things I'll put out there, and I kind of had the first thought as you, Mike. I remember originally watching this, kind of the ending was a little, really, it was all a dream. For those that remember, my mother was a fan of the show Dallas, and there was the whole thing with Bobby woke up in the shower, and it was like the whole season of the show was a dream. At least this was like 2 episodes and not an entire season. But I was looking at some comments from Ira Stephen Bear about the season, and one of the things he commented on was that really the point of this episode, of these 2 episodes, was Odo's story, and Odo's story was the central part, and everything else was basically just smoke and mirrors and keeping away from that. So I really think that was a lot of time if people watch this, especially a casual watch, they don't necessarily pick up on the Odo-centric piece and kind of what that means. Because we've seen through the first 2 seasons, Odo searching for his people and where he belongs, and he finds that answer here. And so I think there's a lot of development in this for Odo finally, which I really enjoy as well. I think this is a very strong opening for season 3. So how about we go ahead and jump into our discussion of the episode? And I already see someone wanting to jump in. Jessi.
I just want to talk about Kira and Odo.
Okay.
I thought we were going to see a kiss, and I was yelling at the TV. I fucking told you guys. I fucking told you guys. And then they didn't kiss. And so I was like a little disappointed, but I still am holding out hope that they're going to get together because there's definitely something there. There is no chance that there's not, because the way that she looked at him and he kind of leaned into her, I was like, here we go. And then they didn't do it. So
you want to see Kira covered in the goo, don't you?
I mean, I would be happy for her. Go for you. As long as it's not me, I don't give a shit what you do with yourself.
You just want the 3-fingered part, not the.
I mean, listen, not again. You say you don't, you're a motherfucking liar. I don't care about it. Anybody that wasn't turned on by that is not alive.
Oh God!
They just got bigger and longer. Listen.
Yo,
I've never thought of myself as a bowling ball before, but
he had Pinocchio fingers.
Lots of holes, Mike. Lots of holes.
Self-lubricated. You don't even need to do anything. It's
just all jelly. It's like,
and he was clearly doing some adjustments as he was working there. So
I mean, mold to anything.
Nicole.
Jesus.
On that note.
Oh wow! Yeah.
I also too thought they were going to kiss, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But I did think it was very sweet how like they kind of held hands and she pushed his comm badge, and they definitely had a moment there. But I also loved how she was excited for him and supportive and respectful of his process. Like she was very caring, and she was even telling them, he's happy, trust me. Because at first he was kind of asking questions and interrogating them. And she's like, this isn't an interrogation. And she was just so like, it was just really cool to kind of see that dynamic. And the lady was basically like, oh, well, we don't trust the solids. And Kira knew that they did not trust her and she was the outsider, but she didn't care. She was still going to be there to support Odo, give him his space, let him do what he needs to do. And she was fully prepared to say goodbye to him because she thought he was going to stay. And that was sad too. I was like, oh no. But obviously that didn't happen. So, but yeah, I just really liked the whole sequence because he was not acting like himself at first. And she kept checking on him and asking me if he was okay. And then he saved her when she got shot. They got into the shuttle and they were going. And at first she was kind of mad, but then she was like, whatever, man. And then when she realized what it was, she like changed her tune. So I also thought it was kind of sweet how like he basically took out all those Jem'Hadars, saved her, and got in a shuttle and got them the hell out of there. They're the only ones that actually did. So, but yeah, it was really cool to learn more about his backstory and kind of see where he came from. And it was really cool to see their dynamic. And I do love how he basically was like, I don't need your link. I have mine. I have my people. And I just thought that was so cool because he has constantly felt like he was alone and like an outsider. But I think this kind of showed him, wait, I'm not. Like he knew that probably, but like it took something to show him that. And I think this was like an epiphany for him too, to like realize that this is his family and this is his people that are there for him and that love him and care for him. So it was just really, it was really a ride for him from the start of the episode to the end. And you really saw so much of his character just unfold in front of you. And it was really cool.
Prentice.
I wanted to revisit something that Chris mentioned in the beginning, the subtlety of the writing between the female shapeshifter and Odo. When she was talking about how we appropriated the name Changeling and made it something of pride. I was like, this is very good writing. I don't know. I read up who the writers were of this episode, Ira Stephen Burr and Robert Hewitt Wolf. That was a very subtle connection to how other cultures appropriate language of harm to language of pride. So I really thought that was very deep writing for the episode. And when I listened to it again this evening, I said, this is very creative, even for that time period. And even just the story about how the oppressed have now become the oppressors. We were hunted. We were vulnerable. We were naive. And now we see all you solids as a danger. So they're really building up an enemy that you kind of understand why they are doing the things they're doing, because now you see, just from perspective alone of Oda, what that isolation was, how that persecution may have been for them. So they did an excellent job of introducing a new enemy that's not the simple layered enemy you get in a lot of TV shows. This is building something a little bit more than. So I appreciate the subtlety in the writing for this episode and the creation of the Dominion.
Chris?
To piggyback off that, I think the fact that the more relatable a villain is, the better it makes the story, right? Because the conflict between both sides trying to achieve their goal, it's relatable. You can have some sense of relatability on each side. And so like Prentice was saying, for the shapeshifters to, because we can't say the C word, right? Like that's officially the C word now. We're not allowed to say it unless it's no hard G, like no, just the N, like it's changeling. Is that cool? But not like changeling, like can't do the hard G. I don't know. You guys are the Star Trek experts. You tell me. I don't want to say anything, racist on here. But it was very interesting, like Prentice was saying, to see the oppressed go to the oppressors. And initially I was like, how are these goo bags going to take over the Gamma Quadrant? Like really? Like they're swimming in these lakes like they're a bunch of jellyfish and they're popping out like, mer people, and all of a sudden they're taking over the entire Gamma Quadrant. But then I thought about it. I'm like, if they really were gathering all this intel and then they're able to essentially mimic any being that they see, the levels that they could infiltrate in these other worlds and in these other federations or organizations or whatever and all that, like it kind of just, the building blocks were there. So it made sense to me. But to see them then elevate to where they were, and not just for their own species, but they have these other species now underneath their umbrella working for them, doing their dirty work. I thought that was really interesting. I also thought the Jem'Hadar, like they got the drop on them on the ship, But then Cisco and the boys were putting their paws all over him. I'm like, this is supposed to be the big bad Jem'Hadar, and they're getting ran through like the JV squad. I was like, what's going on here? But I guess it makes sense because it was all a dream, I guess. So since they were all dreaming, they're like, this is our dream. We're going to fuck you up. You're not going to fuck me up in my dream. And they did that. But then O'Brien was getting jacked up in Quark's place. I'm like, O'Brien ain't no hoe like that. He ain't just going to get thrown over the bar and then get pushed up on the wall. Like, that's not O'Brien. So there was, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, since it was all a dream, that stuff really doesn't happen. But
it's not so much a dream as it's a reality created for them. And the founders wouldn't want to, they want to make it realistic, but they want to keep it going because their purpose is to find out how far would they go. And so they don't want to necessarily end it too soon. So I think they did it in a way to, how can we keep this going?
Keep them engaged.
To find out just how far these people will go.
Yeah. And they blew up the wormhole. So they were willing to go all the way.
And as far as C words on the show, use whichever one you want. There's a 4-letter one for the Attorney General of the United States. That one is also acceptable on this show.
This is just a reminder to all the solids that grew up around the C word. You're still not allowed to say that word. So just don't use that word because it's not for you.
And unless it applies to the Attorney General of the United States.
I love that word. I use it all the damn time.
Yeah, I say cunt all the time. It doesn't. That's not a C word. That's just a normal part of your vocabulary.
Yeah.
We should have had Ryan on. He would have explained how it's just a typical greeting in Australia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we will invite him back to explain that to our viewing audience. Jessi.
I find it interesting. I think this is just thinking into it too much, but that is probably why the systemic oppression continues to happen, because that's exactly what the dominant race, or what are they? The species? What is? I'm not trying to be that person.
It'd be a species.
Species, right? So like that's exactly what the dominant species would not want to happen, is your oppressed turns into your oppressor. So why do you think the systemic oppression has continued to happen? Because people are terrified of what would happen if they did gain a little bit of power. And this is just an over the top view of what it could look like. And I don't know if every oppressed person's goal would be to be the oppressor. I don't know how I can't speak to that because I'm not part of that oppressed group other than being a woman sometimes. But it's definitely harder to think about being somebody that was oppressed to turning around and being the oppressor. That would be a really weird concept to me, but that's what we saw on the thing.
Nicole?
So I kind of want to go back to the ending about it being the simulation or whatever. And it was disappointing, but what I did like about it was they really showed that their fuck around and find out is strong. They will take it to the limit. They will take it to the edge. They will do whatever it is that they need to do what's right. And they just fucking showed up guns blazing straight gangsta. Like they just took it. And I really, really liked that because I feel like that also was showing the Jem'Hadar and the Dominion and all them, hey, you might have more technology than us. You might have more power than us, but we ain't going to go down without a fight. And we will fucking do what we have to do. And I feel like that was a good lesson for them to kind of see like, okay, maybe they're not as lesser or as weak as we thought they were. And the fact that Odo got them to let them all go, I thought that was pretty awesome too, because clearly they were not planning on letting them go. They were going to kill them. So, but Odo was like, nah, you're going to do to me what you do to them. And they're like, well, changelings don't hurt changelings. And he goes, okay, well, set them free, bitch. So I thought it was their character all came out. Like Sisko being a stand-up guy, I'm going to do what's right. It just really was very much, this is who we are. And maybe they don't have a lot of experience with solids or people or whatever, but I thought it was a good kind of example of like, you may have kind of went through and taken over and taken charge and ended people and killed people, but also this group isn't going to go down lightly. So I just thought it was a really good way to kind of solidify their spot too in this situation. Like, okay, here's our cards. They laid them all on the table.
Mike?
I was kind of questioning the nature of the whole Matrix simulation. Like how much of it was programmed, how much of it was being drawn from the individuals that were strapped into the machine. Because there were certain things about it that I thought were kind of interesting, like that the scenario deliberately laid out the plot line of the Romulans, who somebody else pointed out, like we unfortunately haven't really had any exposure to in DS9 up until this point. So I feel like some of y'all are just missing out a little bit on that. But like the whole plot line of how the Romulans are kind of being excluded from the peace talks, they're the target of the future aggression is kind of how it's spun, is interesting. It's like, who injected that into the simulation? Like, is that the Dominion's actual plan, or what's the deal there? I also thought Garrick showing up and being all badass and heroic was kind of a weird one, because Garrick wasn't strapped into the machine at all. So that was straight up just Bashir's fantasy coming true.
No, that would have been a different scenario.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Might have
Jax was
started
wearing
that way.
clothes, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I did think it was really interesting. And it was cool to kind of see how they all pulled those threads to see how far everybody would go. That was good.
Jessi.
I liked it. I think it showed a lot about everybody's character too, because like we talked about on whatever episode I just listened to that you let out, that I think that, or that you put out, that Odo is always going to do what's right. I just don't know if he has it in him to not do what's right. And what would have been comfortable and easy for him was to melt into that lake with everybody else and have a great life. But he chose his side, and then everybody else was like, fuck it, we'll go down swinging. We're going to do what's best for everybody, even at the detriment to ourselves. So it was nice to see them do what was right instead of what was easy. And I guess I will save my question for the end, because I'm kind of confused how we got into the simulation. But did the ship happen? Did they attack the ship?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that happened.
So did they fix it when they put him back on it?
They probably captured the ship and beamed everybody off of it, or captured everybody on board and then towed the ship to wherever. I mean, that all happened off screen. But
I forgot who said it, but yeah, at the point when the Jibhadar were glip-glopping over to the Defiant and throwing fists, they probably did handsomely kick everyone's ass. And
Yeah, because I thought that was my understanding of the attack actually happened. So people actually did die in that. Like there was somebody that died.
oh, I'm sure some of the other unnamed crew did.
Sure. So they were just
That's why they're called extras.
the sacrifices, right? But so I thought that actually happened. I thought that once they had been captured, then that's when the simulation started.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's how they ended up with O'Brien and Dax, because they captured them on the listening post, and then
Yes. The end made more sense, because then I'm like, oh, because when you see them come walking into the whatever ship they're on, or
yes,
I'm like, how did you get there? Like you just
not only how did you get there, but they've also apparently like flown home and come back again.
Yes.
Mhm.
And then I almost was confused where they were once they went into the simulation, because they were on DS9, right? They were on their own station, but it just looked weird and it felt weird and everything didn't feel right. So it made more sense once it came out at the end. But
yeah, and that's the idea. It's to throw everything off.
yeah. And the blonde-headed lady, she was a fucking cunt. Didn't like her at
The,
all.
the Admiral.
Yeah.
So she is a carryover from Star Trek: The Next Generation. She appeared in that show a few times, and I would like to say she's different there, but no, she's a cunt. She
Just as cunty as ever.
every
Okay, good.
single appearance.
Never a likable heroic character.
It's because she had a stupid face that you want to punch.
Yeah, I identify with that, so I understand. But like, it is what it is. Like,
Lady was never likable.
some of us just aren't. It's okay.
Chris.
Yeah, that lady had some thin, villainous lips. I didn't like her. I didn't like her at all.
We can't all be blessed with nice, beautiful lips.
No, but hers were like thin. Hers were like thin though. Like
They have fillers. They if you really
Tell us more, Christopher.
right.
God made her the way she is. Leave her alone. God damn it.
So I believe in the episode, the woman shapeshifter, I guess the head of the Dominion, she told Odo that essentially she was going to let him ride this one time, but that's it. Next time it's on site. So does that mean that they are essentially looking at Odo as a sellout? Or was that more directed towards Sisko and the crew? Like, Odo, you cool. We rock with you, but we'll do you a solid this one time. But next time, we taking your people out.
Here's your
You're going to
pass.
have to come home.
Right.
Was that what they were trying to convey? Or was it you a sellout and we're going to get your people next time we catch you?
Sounds like a question for the end of the show.
Sounds
Okay,
like you
question
gotta
for the
watch
end of the show.
4 more seasons.
Emily, every time you say stuff like that, it makes me want to poke you in your eye.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of, Chris?
Scott.
in the Hunger Games when the guy let her go, that just this one time for Prue or whatever. That's what that reminded me
Yeah.
of. I was like, oh shit, they Hunger Games it.
They Hunger Games it and they Twilighted it.
Yes.
No, DS9'd it, and the Hunger Games also DS9'd it.
Chris, before you get taken off this planet prematurely by Jessi, what have you got for us?
So Chris and Nicole have both mentioned they kind of talked along the lines of rejection with Odo and the changelings. And he chose his side because he was rejected first. Like they cast him out and expect him to come back when they call him home to essentially see what he learned. And they expect him to come back with open arms and be, thank you for letting me come back, instead of being pissed off that they've kicked him out in the first place. Like, I don't get how they're thinking that would work. He's been away for, it sounded like hundreds of years, and they expect him to come back, and just because they can connect him to the link and show him that he has a home and a people, that it's not going to hurt that they rejected him and sent him away from basically infancy. So I'm not surprised that Odo was wanting to say, but he was conflicted. And when he made that choice to say, you hurt them, you hurt me, that did not come as a shock at all, because who is he going to choose? The people who have always had his back, or the people who sent him away?
Chris.
That connects to my other point about the long game of the founders of Changeling. They embedded into their young this strong desire to go back to the link. So even though Odo said that he did not want to go, I think still there's a big draw for him that he's resisting to go back to the link. The other thing is I found interesting in this episode is when they talked about, we sent out all these young changelings into the galaxy, and we didn't expect you to come back for another 300 years. So that detail was interesting about the long game and the possibility of how many others out there like Odo are in the universe. So I thought that kind of backstory was very interesting with the introduction of the founders as a kind of a new villain for the series.
Every day we meet that wants to blow everything up.
Well, Prince, you mentioned that with the new villain for the series, and I think it's kind of interesting with some of the parallels, because if we think back to the Borg from Next Generation, they wanted, and as it'll even get said in First Contact, is it's bringing order to chaos through assimilation. And you've got the female changeling basically making the comment as to Odo of, it's not justice, it's order, to Odo, telling him it's not justice that you are passionate about, it's order.
Yeah.
And we will bring order and control to the galaxy. So I just think it's interesting with that parallel. You've got two very similar mindset there, but the Dominion and the Changelings aren't doing the assimilation, they're doing conquest. It's straight up, they're breeding an army. They are taking, you toe the line or you get taken out. So in some ways, it makes you wonder which is the bigger one. But I found that parallel when you mentioned the new villain, but it's still got that piece that you bring in from what the Borg were in the Next Generation and put that on this new construct. Mike.
Well, I think that's a good point, Blake. And it makes the Dominion and the founders in particular a good bad guy, because they don't see themselves as the bad guy. They see themselves as partly as the victim. And so they're reciprocating the hate back on everyone else. And then also they think that they're actually doing everybody a favor by whipping the galaxy into. The thing I wanted to pick up on too was what Prentice was talking about, the amount of genetic predisposition, I guess, like programming that's like put into Odo. It's interesting, but I also found it really frustrating in this episode. And that was maybe one of the things that kind of took me out of it. It was like, I understood where the story was going, but man, like Odo was a straight up dick at times in this episode. And like, it's not that I didn't at times get it, but like when he was basically like, yeah, piss off, I'm staring at my iPad. That was a bit far. And I thought it was interesting because Odo has also gone through the wormhole in the past, but like now all of a sudden something triggered to the point that he was like basically willing to ignore and abandon his friends to go try to fly away and investigate a place that saw a picture of on a screen. It was a little weird. was a little heavy-handed as far as the storytelling goes. Like, in as much as other writing was really clever and subtle, that one was really not.
Well, I think part of, because Mike, that's a good point. I have a similar problem with it. And I'm trying to remember the name of I think it's the Next Generation episode Brothers, if that's the one I'm thinking right. I'm looking it up real quick to see if that's the one that it is. Hey, I got the episode right. The episode Brothers from the Next Generation had a situation where the Enterprise was trying to get these kids that had gotten in trouble to life-saving thing, and Data, who was an android, all of a sudden just goes haywire because his creator sent a signal out that basically overrode everything else and made Data like, I want to go to my creator. So I think my problem with this, Mike, stems from we've seen this before because they pulled it with Data and Brothers with that same just kind of all of a sudden he just becomes a dick and is hell-bent on that's where he wants to go.
I could see that, but like for me personally, the bigger part of it was that he was willing to go so far as like abandoning the rest of the crew to go on his little private mission, even though they were all very much in peril. And that was really against his character. And if he's willing to go that far in this instance, then it raises other questions that I don't think are intentional. Maybe they are, but it's like, well, what else is Odo gonna one day like flip a switch and decide to do? You know, like how much else is programmed into him?
Well, see, and that's why because even with Brothers, because he basically locked the crew out of the ship and hijacked the whole ship on that one. And I think that's part of where I drew the parallels too with it. And I think with it, because they didn't really ever follow up on it from that episode either, but that was the lack of serialization. And so I think it'll be interesting to see here with Odo and how that develops, because it does leave some questions, I think, out of this episode.
Well, especially, I mean, they started the episode off with Sisko coming back with the new security guy and basically explaining that Starfleet has a beef with Odo because he's not a team player. Well, this sure as shit isn't going to help.
Yeah. This is not going to go well in your employee review.
That's not, yeah.
Yeah, please wait till your next check-in and workday. It's going to be fun. Jessi.
Going back to the justice and order thing, I think that was a very interesting part of the show because most of the time justice is order. That's why you do justice, right? Is to keep order. When somebody gets sentenced for a crime, the sentence should reflect to protect the community and to deter future crimes of the same. So like that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to achieve order. Now, does it work? No, but I found it interesting that they brought that up and they made them sound like they were two totally different things, when in our current system, the justice system is trying to achieve order. So that was an interesting part to me.
I get where you're going to, and I think it's the means to how do you get to the order, because justice is supposed to be blind, right? There's right, there's wrong. It's
right.
It's how it works, and it not always what people want. You know, it's not mob justice. It's not, well, okay, sometimes it is. But the way it's supposed to work in a perfect world is it's fair. It's not vindictive. It's not overhanded, heavy-handed.
It's
what it is.
That's not our justice system.
So no, it's not. No, that's why I prefaced with perfect world.
Yeah, I mean, you always see.
You frame this to where they went with it's control. Justice should not be control. Now, I think we can make the argument the way our justice system work is control, and we have a much bigger goddamn problem there.
Yeah. You always see Lady Justice, right? Blindfolded, scales that are supposed to be even. Well, I have her tattooed on my arm, and her scales are tipped because it is not even, and it is always uneven. And there's really not a whole lot of order in the justice system because it's not fair. It's not, it should be, but it's not. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Because as we've talked on this show many, many times, there are so many factors there that influence what justice system you actually get access to.
Depending on A, B, and C. Absolutely.
Chris.
I think for me, and I could be wrong, but just the way I took it, when Odo says he's about justice, I don't think he meant in the sense of the law or what the laws are for whatever justice system. I think for him, justice is doing what's right in the face of wrong, and which was the issue I think that got him replaced essentially for all Starfleet matters on the space station as far as security goes, is because even if it's not according to the law, but he believes this is what's right and this is what needs to be done, he's going to do it. And I think maybe that for me is his juxtaposition on where the Dominion is and then where he stands. Is the Dominion is saying, because if you think about it, again, we go back to They were the oppressed, now they're the oppressors. If anybody has a right to kind of go out there and try to assert their will or their version of what they believe is right on the galaxy or on the Gamma Quadrant, it's them, right? Because they got shit on for so long and were so mistreated and were brutalized to a certain degree. But are they going about doing it the right way? No. And I think that's where Odo was coming from. He's like, look, I get it, but what you're doing isn't right. What you're doing isn't justice. His version of justice, of doing what's right, not according to doing the law. Because according to the Dominion law, they're not coloring outside the line, right? So once they got in position, they redrew the lines and are like, hey, look, we're still coloring within the line, so we're all good, which is what a lot of oppressors do, right? They change the laws to fit whatever their agenda is. So for me, I think with Odo, it's more about what's right in his mind. That's what he considers justice.
When you make the rules, there are no rules.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of how it goes.
Nicole?
I liked how when Odo said he dedicated his life to justice and doing the right thing to her, she was like, well, once you connect with us and become part of the link, you'll get this even greater satisfaction. Like, she was basically saying that need is what we're doing, and that's why you feel that. And once you get connected to us, you'll get that satisfied even more. And he's like, yeah, no, I have my moral compass and it's not the same as yours. And I just thought that was really interesting, because if that is a fundamental characteristic inside of their species where they want order and whatever, maybe that is why Odo is so just and wants justice and wants to do the right thing. But also because he spent so much time with the solids, quote unquote, his view of justice is very similar to everybody else's, not necessarily theirs. So I just think it's really interesting to kind of see how they also have that high moral compass or whatever, but their view of justice and his are completely different. And I just really thought that was interesting conversation at the end that he had with her. She was kind of trying to downplay it, but he was like, no, this is how I feel. So I thought that was really an interesting kind of interaction with those two.
I want to jump in real quick, and I'm sorry because I know I'm cutting in front of a couple other people, but like what Nicole just pointed out is something that bothers me to no end in real life, and that is when I've had discussions about politics with like other people, other coworkers, friends, family, especially, and it always reaches a point, like it seems like with a lot of these people, like family especially, well, they'll end up saying something to the effect of, you'll one day you'll feel the same way I do when you grow up, when you get older. It is the most condescending thing, and it pisses me off so bad. It's like, no, I am a grown-ass adult. We are just two different people with two different moral standings at this point. Like, I'm not gonna grow up one day and just become a selfish twit. Like,
you might.
I mean, I wouldn't rule it out.
Well,
but you know.
You're right. No, don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely a selfish twit. I just also don't believe in, separating families. So
it's that. And then the other thing, Mike, that kills me is when a person takes a particular stance on something that is just clearly morally, ethically wrong, but it's in line with their group, organization, party, whatever. And in order to, I guess, avoid the argument, they say, well, we'll just agree to disagree.
No.
Like you're talking about liking strawberry
it's
jam
the same
versus
thing.
grape jelly. It's like, what? We're going to agree to disagree? Like, no, we're not talking about which toaster oven is better.
Right,
here.
right.
And the correct answer is raspberry preserves.
It's the same thing. It's I'm done listening to you. I'm not going to hear your argument. I'm going to just assume the high ground and tell you to piss off.
Right.
One day you'll agree with me.
Yeah.
I'm never going to vote against my best interests. That I just cannot do it. Like, you're voting for things that literally are your detriment, to the detriment of you. But I digress.
Oh, there is whole academic research on the phenomenon of people voting against their own interest. And a lot of it gets into people who tend to vote a certain way have a certain response to fear and authoritarian messaging that makes them, it's why everything's a war on this, a war on that. That threat messaging overrides common sense and rationality and will drive them to vote against their own interests time and time and time and time again.
And when you take a group that is historically in power and you message to them that they're going to lose power from name the minority, then that messaging works all the more. I mean, it's the reason why we're here And Mike, you were saying something about the Dominion kind of imposing your will across the universe and not necessarily realizing that you're the bad guy through all of it. Really rings a bell here with American history. We impose our will because we can all the time. And we think we're justified and we're moral. And rarely are we.
I'll say that's a whole nother thing, right? It's just because we can do it doesn't mean we should, or that it's been the right way.
Because that's how it's always been done. Oh God, I hear that all the fucking time.
So Jessi, you have been sitting there far more patiently than you normally do in these circumstances. So what have you got?
Well, sometimes I allow it. No, I'm kidding. So Odo and the C words give me the nature versus nurture. This is why I love like psychology and sociology so much, because psychology will say it's because of your brain. Sociology says it's because of the way you were raised. And so this is a prime example of his biology says one thing, but the way that he was raised has made him a completely different person. So a lot of the times people have both. You're already fucked with your psychology, and then you come out and don't have a shot in hell, the nurture part, right? So it was definitely interesting to see him come out as a completely different mindset based on his experiences. That's just always what it comes down to. That's why people have a hard time seeing that they're voting against their own best interests, because they don't know. And like, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that racism exists until you are until you're the victim of racism. You can't know what you don't know. If you don't see it all the time, you don't know it exists. So they don't have the experiences that Odo has. So they can't understand that, Kira is his person. And I think it was interesting. He chose Kira when he pulled her off of the ship that was being attacked, the station, the ship, the thing that was being at the Glib Glob that was being attacked. I do find it interesting because who is it, Mike, that brought it up, that he just completely zoned out and went against, like, Kira's yelling, our main job is to go and help them as they're being attacked. We need to get upstairs, we need to get up there, we need to help them. And Odo was like, no, fuck that, we're out. Part of his nature, possibly. And then the nurture came in when he met his nature. So it was a very interesting dynamic.
Christopher.
Literally what I wrote down, Jessi, was nature versus nurture. And it may be in his nature to want order, but the founders, they were not taking into account how order was going to look to him because of his lived experience. And that was to their detriment, because they thought that they had him coming back and that they were going to be able to take care of the human problem with ease, and that they weren't going to have to worry about them. And Odo would come back and everything would be fine. And it's not.
I'm just interested to see what's going to happen with the other 99. I don't know if we ever get to see that, but that would be interesting to see if the other 99 had similar experiences.
Any other topics or pieces of this two-parter that anyone wants to discuss or bring up?
I said nothing.
I really hate that she's not a newbie. I still hate it. We're 3 seasons in, and I hate that she's not a newbie. It just irritates. We need the next show we do, she's got to be a newbie or I'm going to poke her in her eye.
So I will admit, now that we're at this episode, when we were on the Gray 17 podcast and the White Star showed up, I made a comment one night, oh, look, the Defiant got here. And Scott sent me a side message. Dude, shut the fuck up.
Nobody knows. It's fine. Well, Emily would know. Emily absolutely would know.
They're not going to get it. They'll be fine.
No, Emily was being gaslighted about every fucking thing else. So she's probably just, her head was spinning like everybody else's.
She is not the one we gaslit the most.
Nope.
Justin. Shocking. Angel dicks. I can't.
I heard an angel. No, you didn't. And then me,
you motherfuckers. Like, I
me for 2 seasons making comments touched by a Vorlon for 2 seasons. And he never caught on.
Okay, but even us newbies were like, we didn't know, but I'm like, you didn't hear an angel. The fuck are you talking about?
Right.
You're hearing shit.
That was the great part. You guys were all in on it and had no clue.
That was the most, like, I hollered when I saw that it was actually an angel. I was like, these motherfuckers spent, holy shit, years talking shit to this dude. And he was right the whole time.
It's so good that we don't treat you the same way we treated Justin.
Or
they treat
as
Justin.
Far as you know.
As far as you know.
Fine. There will come a day, kids. There will come a day.
I will say, so far into the show, we did have someone on our Discord ask, Why is there not as much gaslighting on this show as there was Grey 17?
Because we're smarter.
And I made the comment that one, it really depends on the questions we get asked and what gets thrown at us and what we decide to answer.
And we're smarter. That's okay.
Well, you're here, so I don't know about that.
I'll say it to his face. I'm not scared. No.
Well, damn.
Oh boy. The problem is, if you got, he would be turned on by it.
I know. Well, that's why I don't say it to his face.
Yeah. It would be a turn on. So let's go ahead and grab some questions and predictions from our newbies, and then we will throw them out of here and get to discussing. Let's start with Nicole.
How big of a problem is Borat going to be? I know it's not his name, everyone, but I'm going to call him that anyways.
Highly
Borat.
problematic.
Yes,
Highly.
whatever. How much of a problem is he going to be, and how much more are we going to see him, is my first question. Are we going to see these other changelings at any point? Is there going to become like an army of changelings that come and try to take over? How much of a problem are the Jem'Hadar going to be? Are they going to be like constantly up in their faces, or is this just like a, all right, we'll leave you alone for a while kind of thing? And then does Garrick ever become a good guy, like a full-on good guy? Because I got to know, because I really enjoyed seeing him acting selflessly and being on the right side. So that's all I got, though.
How about Chris?
Oh, man, I think it's hilarious you call him Borat. I just keep hearing King of the Castle, King of the Castle. He's going to be walking around the station like...
I have a chair in the unitard or
I have
something,
a chair.
Oh, my God.
So I guess, my question from before, does the Dominion look at Odo like he's a sellout? And next time they catch him on the street with his crew, it's on site? Or is Odo going to get the pass still because he's one of the shapeshifters, and it's going to be Sisko and everybody that's going to get dropped, that's going to get put down? That's a question I have. Yeah, and I think, another question I have about Odo, because Prentice had touched on it, Mike elaborated on it, and Jessi had talked about the nature versus nurture aspect of it. Is that like biological programming going to kick in and become a problem in the future for Odo? And is it going to cause conflict between him and the crew, or just him and what he wants to do versus what his programming is telling him to do? Like on some Manchurian Candidate type shit. It's like he's just going to fucking one day just flip. And we already saw what happened in the previous episode when he was off that gas and he turned into that monster and was just running through killing cats. It's like, you don't want Odo to go there. So if that flip switches, is it going to be a big problem? How much is that biological programming going to come into effect? And then, are we ever going to really see the Jem'Hadar run the fade with Starfleet? Because at the end of season 2, they put belts to asses on everybody, and it wasn't even a fight. So if that does happen, is the Defiant going to be enough? I don't think so. I feel like there's a huge gap between where Starfleet needs to be and where they are now in order to defend themselves. And so I'm interested to see what's going to happen. If they need to get there, how are they going to get
there? Jessi, your questions and predictions.
My predictions are the Jem'Hadar are a bunch of little bitches, and I honestly think that if you take the founders out from underneath them, they're just normal fucking little bitches. So I don't know. I don't think that they're going to be that big of a problem, because you could threaten people with anybody with the technology that the founders have, or whoever they are. Like, the only reason they are who they are is because they have people supporting them. So if you take all that away from them, you could threaten somebody with kittens if they had fucking the same power. So I don't have any questions. Everybody asked them, so...
And Christopher, your questions and predictions.
So, are the Romulans going to come into play more, or is it just sharing of the cloaking device? What is actually going to trigger this war? Because I still don't see how Starfleet cannot respond. And not only did they blow up the damn Odyssey, now they kidnapped the crew and ran simulations on them. So does the war start like next week? Like, when do we get here? And are there consequences to Odo leaving and basically telling Sisko, handing in his resignation and saying, fuck off, you guys are on your own? Or does his saving the crew salvage his relationship with them?
Emily, got all that?
Yep.
Was Borat the guy? No, I know who Borat is, but whatever the fucking guy.
He was the guy running the simulation.
The one that they said, what do you get in return? And he said, my friendship.
Yeah, your friendship. Yes,
I
that
said,
guy.
bitch, I don't need no fucking friends. I don't need your friendship. Fuck,
Yeah.
no new friends over on this end. So
That's what Sisko looked like when he was looking at him. He's like, bitch, I don't need no new friends.
right, what do I want your friendship for? Fuck off, I don't even like you.
Oh man, hold on.
What's funny is the character of Borath was originally supposed to be Eris from the Jem'Hadar, but the actress was unavailable due to scheduling. That's why Eris got mentioned and we got Borath.
Man, you just reminded me, we didn't even talk about how Sisko forced Quark into going on the suicide mission.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's have some we can splice this around, don't worry.
Made him kiss the
made
fucking
him-
ring.
Yeah.
Kiss the staff, man. Like, I thought it was simultaneously,
Armin Shimmerman hated that.
I thought it was like one of the funniest, but also shittiest situations in the whole show. Because he straight up was like, this mission is extremely dangerous and you're coming with me because I said so.
And then just left him. Like, let him go. Like, he's like, I'm gonna get off here and I'll catch a ride home.
I mean, that was the nicest thing that Sisko did to him,
No
was
shit.
letting him get off
That's
there.
true.
Like, but at the same time, like, it was so funny. Like, Sisko was just feeling himself. That whole scene, just eating it up. Like, you forgot to kiss the Negus staff. Like,
Right.
That looked like yogurt from
Kiss the
Spaceballs.
staff.
Yes,
kiss
it
the
did.
stick.
Oh my
And
god.
part of that is Armin Shimmerman played one of the original Ferengi in Star Trek The Next Generation when they first appeared in season 1. So he's always kind of felt a sense of ownership in the development of the Ferengi. And he actually got pissed over that scene. It was, he hated it because he said, despite the Federation's lip service to their prime directive, which says they're not supposed to apply their standards to any culture's attitudes, it seemed to me that this was another example of the Federation making fun of and taking advantage of and ridiculing the Ferengi. So kissing the scepter was a bit irksome to both me as an actor and the character. Yeah, he was not thrilled with that.
Okay.
Well, noted, and we're moving on.
And we're moving on.
Right.
We talked about that in I think the finale in the Jem'Hadar, how Quark basically told Sisko, look, you treat me like shit. You humans in the Federation, you think that you're above everything, and you belittle the Ferengi, and you treat us as lessers, and you have a terrible history that you guys haven't lived down, and you forget about it, and the way that you treat us isn't a whole lot better than how you used to treat each other. And that scene in this episode kind of showed that he still has a point.
Another scene I was going to bring up too is when they get back to the station and Jake and Sisko are in their quarters kind of unpacking things. And it's that, when did we start to think of this as home bit? And they're unpacking the artifact, the stuff. And one of the things they unpack is a African tribal mask. And even seeing them start to bring in, I mean, you can tell there's kind of the first couple seasons, I would say they almost tried to steer away from certain topics and certain conversations that I think they're starting to embrace more in the show. One, because it is standing on its own now. It is its own thing at this point. So seeing I think that was kind of a big, to see them introduce that at the start of season 3. And I think that's another sign of the changing direction the show is going to be going, not just in the story with the pieces we're seeing, but with the character development and the way they're treating the characters as well. So I'm curious as we get through to see what you all think of that.
I will say, as a member of the Igbo tribe, since my father was Nigerian, having a Yoruba mask was offensive to me. And I think if we continue to go down this road of promoting other Nigerian tribes instead of my own, I'm going to have to bow out from watching these episodes. I'm just putting it out there.
That's what's going to finally break this show.
You're not going anywhere. We're going to stay right here, and you're going to love every second of it. So you can bitch about it, and you can talk all your shit, and you can shut the fuck up, because we're all going to be in this together.
I got to keep the Igbo Yoruba blood feud going, man. It's passed down from generation to generation. I got to keep it alive.
And if you quit this show, I think Jessi's saying there's going to be another blood feud.
You don't live that far from me, so I'm more scared of your wife than I am of you. So I think she could take me. I'm not worried about you, right? I'm not stupid.
It's the disrespect. It's the disrespect, man. First the episode, now Jessi.
Well, but from those of us that have known Jessi for a while, that's just normal.
That's fair.
She's a habitual line stepper. That's who she is.
There is no line. There's no
There
line.
is no line.
the line.
Not a team player.
Okay, I think that wraps up our discussion for the start of season 3 with The Search parts 1 and 2. We are going to as we get this posted, those of you watching this on YouTube will have likely noticed we've made some upgrades of our own for season 3. We have upgraded the intro to the show, we've added some new background graphics, and just overall updated the graphics package that we are using on the YouTube version of the show. So hopefully you enjoy the changes that we have made there. We also continue to grow our online community. We have had additional people in the last week or so. Emily? We've had about 5 people join our Patreon over about the last week and a half.
Yeah.
That have jumped in on our Patreon. That gets you access to the content we put there as early release bonus content and other pieces. That also gets you access to our Discord server. Hopefully, after we release this, Discord server is still a thing. There's some issues with some of their privacy settings that we are monitoring as we get into March. Hopefully that will not impact us too much. But we do have our Discord server where we have all kinds of unhinged conversations that you can join in and be a part of on there. We've got a feed all about food porn. We've got one for Jessi's conspiracy theories, which as a special treat, we have coming right along this week with the release of this episode, a special conspiracy theory episode with Jessi talking about emergency alerts. And exactly what may be involved in some of those emergency alerts. So stay tuned for that. You're not going to want to miss that batshittery.
I got my hands on some top secret shit, and I brought down Blake and Emily with me.
And by the way, if Jessi randomly disappears before this releases, we also may know why.
I'm not suicidal, so if I die, I did not kill myself.
Got it. So as you can tell from this conversation, what we put in the show is one thing, the outtakes are another, and just imagine what we never, ever release publicly.
Let's see. What episode do we think this season will have the most unhinged comments?
Ooh, there's one for our listeners.
Our listeners.
Go ahead and comment. Do not add a synopsis, just episode title. Put episode title in the comments that you think will have the most unhinged comments from this crew this season, and we will see if you were right. Until next time, when we come back and discuss, I believe the next episode is the House of Quark. Let me double check that.
It is.
Yes, next week's episode is the House of Quark. So you will definitely want to join us for the discussion on that. Until then, I am Blake, and the degenerates joining me are
Nicole,
Mike,
Chris,
Emily,
Prentice,
Christopher,
and Jessi,
the ringleader of it all.
Thank you for listening to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast by searching for Especially the Lies on your podcast app or on YouTube. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Especially the Lies is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Paramount or any other owners of the Star Trek copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purposes of review, and no infringement is intended.
Why have you brought me here? Show yourselves. What do you want?
The Sisko has returned to us. He arrives with questions.
There are always questions.
Welcome back to Visiting with the Prophets. We have thrown all of our newbies into the nearest holding cell at Odo's office so that they cannot hear any of this discussion. And we're going to talk about all of their questions and predictions. Emily, what do we got to start off with?
Oh, geez, Louise. They actually had stuff this time, which I'm glad because it was actually pretty intense 2 episodes. So where do we begin? Let's just go down the list. Nicole asked, how big of a problem will Borath be? He won't.
Yeah, we don't really see Borath. I mean, we'll see other Vorta, but I don't think we get Borath.
Yeah.
He specifically doesn't not come back.
Yeah.
At least according to IMDb. So no, he's done.
I didn't think.
I mean, it pretty much pivots to Wei-Yun at some point here soon,
Yeah.
and then we see various versions of
Then
him.
we see all of them.
Then we have the one that's what Iggy Pop. It's Iggy Pop plays a Vorta at some point in
That's
this.
true
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole also wants to know, do we meet the other changelings that were sent out? So all the little baby bits that got sent out into the universe to act as spies.
I think
There was one.
two, don't we?
There was two. I remember one, but was there a second one?
There was the one that Kira helped escape. I think that was in season 7. And then there was the sick changeling that was a small change.
That's right. The one that they find.
Odo absorbed into himself. Something happened with him. It was this younger changeling.
Oh, because that was when was that
They
the
made
one
him
that gave
solid.
Odo back his changeling properties?
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot about that one. I was thinking because I thought there was one that he had met, and that one was a fucking problem.
It was. Yeah, that was that one. And that was in
Yeah.
season. He had killed the Cleons. They got into a dispute on the promenade. And he killed the Cleon.
Yeah.
And Odo was trying to defend him. Yeah, that was the other one.
All right.
Yeah, which I love because that one it's
Martok.
Laws, I believe.
Is it that the one Martok, the actor that plays Martok, changed?
Yeah, it's J.G. Hertzler plays another great character actor because he's got some great roles of various people that he's played, but he's also really identifiable.
He is.
How much of a problem will the Jem'Hadar be? None. Not at
they're
all.
gonna be a
Not in the
problem.
slightest.
I think it's funny though they're relying on that. Oh, without the founders, the Jem'Hadar are going to be pansies, which they do rely on the founders, but they've not got into the lore yet of the Jem'Hadar are basically a drug-dependent super soldier genetically created for the
Yes.
purpose of whooping ass for the founders.
And that will be episode 6 when we get that background information.
Mhm.
So they got 3 more episodes before they find that out. I thought it was funny. Nicole asked, will Garrick become a good guy?
Yes.
Debatable, maybe, depending on your perspective.
I think by the end of season 7, when he's helping take back Cardassia,
Yeah.
that is a very different Garrick than where we
I
start.
was going to say, I mean, later this season, I think, is the episode when he tortures Odo. So I definitely think they're going to
have some feels about Garrick.
They're going to be asking that question a lot more intensely coming soon.
Yeah, that is, I just looked it up. The
Die is
Die is
Cast.
Cast,
Yep.
episode 21. So Garrick does really have an interesting arc, so I'm interested to see how they feel about that. There'll probably be some big emotions. I did appreciate Chris's question. Does the Dominion think of Odo as an enemy?
No, in fact, and that's what we'll see later because I brought this up when we watched the Jem'Hadar in our session without the newbies, was that they hadn't fully developed everything yet when they wrote that one because the Vorta in that one was not subservient to Odo. But we will see through the rest of this that anytime Odo is confronted with the founders or even the Jem'Hadar to it, they don't go after him. The Vorta actually do the founder and bow to him as they go forward.
And he also had a good question about, does Odo's programming become an issue? And yeah.
Because during the whole occupation by the Dominion of DS9, when he's supposed to disable the security net so Rom can prevent him from taking out the minefield, and he's too busy having boo
Melding.
time with the female changeling.
Yeah, that's gross. And then he had a question about the Jem'Hadar versus Starfleet.
Well, and that's the part I think is interesting. I think they're thinking this war is going to light off in the next couple episodes.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Because it more or less becomes a Cold War at this point. And in typical fashion, I mean, how did the US and the Soviets fight the Cold War? We had all these little proxy fights, right? That we set up all over the place. It was never us versus the Russians. It was these proxy fights. So we're going to see that pop up through here. We're going to get to the start of season 4, and it's going to be the Klingons going after the Cardassians because the Dominion have engineered this idea within the Klingon Empire, as we'll see, because they have a changeling of Martok in the Klingon Empire manipulating the Chancellor to go after the Cardassians. So there's all these little fights that they are doing to destabilize the Alpha Quadrant before they directly engage. So this was more or less a Cold War until we get into season 5, where they are on that prison colony, which I believe is in Purgatory's Shadow and by Inferno's Light. That's going to be the point where the war between the Federation and the Dominion really kicks off. Is going to be that, I think, it's midway season 5. Until then, it's going to be these little proxy skirmishes.
And I think that's going to annoy the shit out of them.
Oh, it is.
Because they're expecting
Absolutely.
more. Like, I think the next 3 episodes are going to drive them batty because they're expecting so much more. And it's going to be like, not just yet. Then Christopher asked, do the Romulans have a bigger role eventually? Because they finally showed up. And their role is interesting.
As far as this one, though, so this is the only time we see the Romulan sub-commander, or whatever rank she was, on the Defiant to operate the cloak. They originally, so the 2 characters they introduced in this episode was the Romulan for the cloak and Eddington. Eddington was introduced only for the reason of Cole Meany was going to be doing a film, so they brought Eddington in to basically be a fill-in for O'Brien while O'Brien was out, while Cole Meany was out doing this movie. And they thought about having the Romulan, but then they realized there wasn't enough part there. They couldn't use her for enough. Now, interestingly enough, as I mentioned, we're 11 weeks away from the launch of Voyager at this point. But the actress who played the Romulan will be Sisko in Voyager, who is a surgically altered Cardassian to appear Bajoran. So we do have so she's going to go somewhere. The actress will end up in Voyager as a regular. And because they ended up not using her in DS9 past this.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to bring it up with the newbies on because there was no way I was going to highlight this. But now that we're watching them like individually or watching the 2 parts as one, and I'm not binging, I had never paid attention to how much focus Eddington had on Kira when he first shows up. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. Because he seems... There's a little too much focus on her. It was a little unsettling. And I had never really paid attention to that before, but you know.
It's interesting. So Eddington, I mean, we know how the arc of Eddington is going to go. What's interesting is when they first started conceiving of this kind of an arc for Eddington, it was that he was going to be a Dominion plant, not the Maquis. Which I think the direction they went was so much better. And I think as much as they gave Sisko shit for not bringing in Cal Hudson during the Maquis episode, I cannot wait to see what they say when they watch Sisko go after Eddington. That is going to be one I want to see. Looking at upcoming episodes, though, I think they'll like Equilibrium. I think they're going to be annoyed it doesn't advance the war plot, but I do think they'll like Equilibrium. Because there are some decent episodes coming up. Civil Defense is another one I think is great, because that's the one with the computer program from the Cardassians that think the Bajorans are taking over the station. And Gul Dukat shows up and the thing basically is like, nope, asshole, you're stuck here.
Yeah, Meridian sucks.
Yeah, Meridian sucks.
That was absolutely filler.
Defiant is a good episode because that kind of starts laying the groundwork for what's going to come, because that's where they're building the secret fleet that's going to go searching for the Dominion. Past tense are some good ones. So there's some good stuff coming up. And life support Bareil comes back, but they'll love that.
But like Christopher's second question was, what actual event triggers a war with the Dominion?
It's not so much an event that triggers it. It's this episode pretty much makes it clear war is inevitable. But the Dominion is going to do everything they can to destabilize the Alpha Quadrant so that when they do strike, it's easier.
And then he also asked, like, were there consequences for Odo resigning, and does Odo saving the crew in the end after he abandoned ship help his position at all? And
nope. And let's keep in mind, this is the second time that Odo has got pissed and turned in his resignation, because the first time was with Lieutenant Prim.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's done this before.
Yeah, that is one of the things about the show. And I mean, I guess I get it from a television writing perspective, but a lot of times characters do some kind of big, kind of stupid things, just kind of get away with it with no consequences.
Yeah, and that one's irritating because he is their security. And so for him to just feel like he can just resign or come back at a whim is...
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see it, like, he resigns, but Sisko just kind of goes, yeah, okay, buddy. Doesn't actually file the paperwork or anything like that. But
where Sisko's like, you can say you're into it, but I'm going to ignore you.
Some of the other things were a little bit more egregious. Like him taking the shuttle and abandoning ship and leaving the rest of them, or depending on how the circum.
Well, I think part of it, they did kind of frame that a little bit, as I understood it from the episode, was that the ship was so damaged they weren't going to be able to get to the bridge anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just assumed an abandoned ship at that point. I could see the argument there.
Yeah, since that was like the argument he made. And he's also found the nebula where his people are from. So it's not even like he's fully himself, because the switch was flipped.
Well, I think that's the other thing, is that's the kind of consequence too, where that sort of event would really raise questions and problems for Starfleet at that point.
And that's why I go back to that TNG episode with Brothers and Data, who gets the same thing with that homing signal. There were no consequences to that at all.
They're just kind of like, well, that'll probably never happen again.
Yeah, it's like, well, now that that's over, Commander Data, take us out of orbit. It's
whoopsie doodles.
But you look at something, it's like, you've got a massive security risk sitting right fucking there.
Well, they can't punish Odo when Quark nearly brought down the station at least once, and he's still there.
True. And he's still there. Any other questions or predictions, or did we pretty much cover it?
I thought it was funny that Jessi predicted the Jem'Hadar won't be that big of a problem.
Oh, they'll be an issue.
Yeah, and when they don't have their catcher cell white, that's a whole different ballgame.
It will be interesting to get into that discussion around addiction and stuff when we get to that in some of these pieces. And then when that dynamic too of when they breed the Alpha Quadrant version of the Jem'Hadar, and you see that tension even amongst the Jem'Hadar between the Alpha Quadrant and the Delta Quadrant Jem'Hadar.
Yeah.
Or Gamma Quadrant. I don't know why I keep messing that up.
But
keep talking about Voyager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it. Forget that show.
I was watching some Enterprise today. Good times.
Well, and obviously with some of this is why we've told the newbies they cannot watch Starfleet Academy, for one, because there are some tie-ins with this, particularly Starfleet Academy Episode 5 dives heavily into some of the myth and legend of Sisko, and I will say that one, as we've talked about, we're doing a watch through of that, and we're releasing those episodes every couple weeks, but the moment in there when a certain character appeared, it was one of those right in the feel type moments. And especially like I mentioned on our other recording, is those were the moments, and we had just got done talking about Scott with our season 2 recap episode. And those were the moments that you'd be texting back and forth with, holy shit, did you just see this?
Yep.
And yeah, that episode really nailed it. We've also told them they cannot watch season 3 of Star Trek Picard, even though I know at least one of them has, Christopher. Because there are pickups in season 3, because that is basically a continuation of the Dominion story arc.
Yeah. Prentice, have you watched any of Starfleet Academy yet?
All of it.
Okay.
And
so
I had reservations about the series initially.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, I've given it a chance, and I've been pleasantly surprised. The Deep Space Nine callback episode with Sherlock Lofton was great send-up. And last week's episode, I thought, was classic. I thought Paul Giamatti is being the villain in the series is masterfully done. He does excellent work that could be over the top and cheesy, but I think the way they have written the characters so far has been excellent. So far, I've been pleasantly surprised by the series. It's actually better than I expected.
Yeah, I haven't seen the most recent episode. I just got to season 5, and that was too many emotions. I did not think that situation through.
Well, I know it was a older recording, but it was used with the permission of Avery Brooks. He knew what they were doing. I understand he also had a phone call both with Sherlock Lofton and the actress who plays Sam. I understand he had a phone call with them as well, but he approved the use of that recording and had that voiceover at the end. And that was kind of another one of those moments of just, Jesus Christ, they pulled this off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really happy he approved that.
Yeah.
Because I know he hasn't seemed to do much with the franchise since DS9 ended. And
he hasn't done any film at all. He's officially, except for the documentary that did The Captain, he has not been on camera.
Yeah,
because he didn't even do the DS9 documentary, What We Left Behind.
Right.
I understand he talked to Ira Steven Behr. They communicated about it. He saw it from what Ira said. But yeah, he didn't even participate in that. He just kind of let it be.
Yeah, so for his approval for that,
that was huge.
Yes.
And there's that end thank you Avery comment that they put that last card as it faded out. That was All right. Well, I think we have wrapped up our discussion of our newbies and where we are and kind of the connections as we have with other series in the franchise going forward. So we will be back next week with the House of Quark and see what our newbies think of that as we continue our journey through Star Trek Deep Space Nine and all things related. I really think we're picking up some steam here. I love some episodes in season 3, and it gets me to where, for me, the show really takes off is going to be the start of season 4 with Way of the Warrior. For me, I like these early seasons and I get what we're building through them and I like season 3, but for me, it's really going to light off when we hit season 4 with Way of the Warrior.
Yeah, I think I'm going to share the newbies' frustration a little bit, like wanting to dig into the Dominion story more, but like having to still sit through not all bad episodes, but a lot of standalone, what are going to feel like filler episodes.
Yeah. All right. I have been Blake, and with me has been
Mike,
Emily,
Just